pregnancy among the Amish is looked at as they obviously love kids and they think having kids is their duty and everything being fruitful. But pregnant women are looked at as shameful. They hide their pregnancy as best as possible. They are not proud of their pregnancy. Like, they hide it as best as they can, and going out in public with a pregnant belly is not fun for them. They don't talk about periods, they don't talk about sex, they don't talk about pregnancy. So when the evidence shows up that you're pregnant, while it's like a secret is trying to get out, they try their best to hide it. I never look forward to being pregnant among the Amish. I used to dream of having babies and not having a bump when I was Amish.
Can we see your bump? I'll show you mine if you show me yours.
Me and my brother accidentally figured out the combination to the safe. We were just playing with it. It was just one of those turn the wheelie ones. Just playing with the wheel. And the combination, we probably accidentally put in a combination and the safe opened.
Wow.
And Mom had a 16 or 17 when I first heard the word penis. But China, I was much older. I feel like it was after I had left the Amish that I heard the word vagina. Because I used to call it a vagina. They don't cover up.
They don't cover up?
They don't cover up. They don't sit down. They don't go into different rooms. It was very, very common for Mom to have her boob out holding the baby and working while she's breastfeeding.
Everything is so contradictory with these rules.
Mine is the only voice.
Wow.
What have I been doing?
Lay down my autonomy.
After that, it got very dark very quickly.
Hey guys, my name is Shalise Ansola, and this is Cults to Consciousness, where we discuss leaving high-demand religions or organizations and finding healing and independence through awareness and true individual sovereignty. If you're only listening, come over to YouTube instead, where you can join in on the conversation, see our faces. It means so much to us when you leave those words of encouragement for our guests. It boosts the algorithm, gives more eyes to our viewers who are coming on and very vulnerably sharing their stories. And today's guest, you guys blew up her first interview. At the time of this recording, it has 880,000 views, and it was only released 3 months ago. So already she's our third top performing video in our entire catalog of over 300 interviews. Absolutely crazy and awesome. And we knew we had to bring her back because she is pregnant now. So from an Amish settlement, thank you so much for coming back, Lovina Zook.
You are welcome. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah. So you are no stranger to social media. You have a huge following and you show people how to make certain things, how to cook certain things. And you just put out a video where you were making bread and I was watching it. And then at the end, you hold up the ultrasound. I was like, ah! I screamed because I was so excited for you because I know that you've been wanting to get pregnant. And so I was like, you have to come back and we have to talk all about pregnancy, because I'm curious too, as a pregnant woman doing at the time of this recording about 4.5 weeks. I'm curious about
that's good.
I know about your choices, because there are so many choices when it comes to birth. Ideally, right? That's what we're advocating for, is women to have choice. And I wanted to hear, based on being in this Amish community, which was one of the strictest sects, any things that you're carrying over, if you're dropping all of it, everything that you want to do differently or do the same. So I wanted to start, for those who aren't familiar with your story, which I feel like a lot of people weren't, and that's why your video blew up, because they're like, oh my gosh, I love her cooking videos and I wanted to know about her story, and now we know. So you guys can watch the full version of that. We'll link it in the description. But if they haven't seen that, just if you could give people kind of a brief overview outline of your story, and then we'll dive into pregnancy specific topics.
Okay, so I left the Amish when I was 18, right after I turned 18, after I was a school teacher, an Amish school teacher for 3 years. I grew up Swartz and Trooper Amish in northern Missouri and southern Iowa, right on the state line. I say northern Missouri and southern Iowa because we lived in northern Missouri for the first 10 years of my life, and then the next 8 years of my life, we lived in Iowa, on the Iowa side. And then right after I turned 18, right after my last Amish school term ended, I left the Amish very impulsively. I hadn't planned on ever leaving the Amish. I was going to be the most upstanding, Amish woman. I dreamed of having like 21 kids, and a lot of them are gonna be twins and triplets. That dream is not my dream anymore. I was going to own a bakery. I was going to sell baked goods and have a store and all that fun stuff. I was dreaming a little bit outside of Amish boundaries, but I was daydreaming, so I didn't really care. I thought maybe the rules would change by then. Anyways, I left the Amish very impulsively after breaking up with my Amish boyfriend of 10 months, and they were expecting me to join church. It was in the spring when they usually start like doing they have the whole routine, like a 5-month thing that they have to follow before they can actually get baptized into the church. And they were expecting me to start that so I can then get baptized in the fall. I just didn't want to. I knew once I was a church member, there was no getting out, because once you're a church member, if you do anything wrong, you're shunned. And there's nothing I wanted less than to be shunned. But I also did not always like exactly like following the rules. I didn't make it a big deal when I didn't follow the rules, but I tried my best to follow the rules to a T. And if I didn't like the rules, I very sneakily tried to not follow them. I didn't broadcast it. So I kind of snapped. Also, I wasn't going to go back to the schoolhouse, which is one of the only things that I really loved about my life at that point, was teaching school, even if it was Amish school. So I left the Amish and my life changed very drastically. I struggled a lot for the first 2.5 years after leaving the Amish. But about a year and a half-ish into leaving the Amish, after I left the Amish, I started getting acquainted with social media. And I figured out that people do this for an income. And I was like, that would be fun. And so I started looking more and more into it. And I thought I was like, my main reason for getting into social media in the very beginning was for income. And then I started loving it, and I did it for almost 2 years. I did it like I had less than 1,000 followers in those 2 years. I made my daily cooking videos, trying my best to stay away from Amish topics, because I didn't want people to associate me with my Amish background. I wanted to be more than my Amish background. And then one day I made a short little trend video about being Amish and how Amish is my past. And it blew up, and everybody started asking me questions. So I started answering them. And then I figured out that maybe if I just accept who I am and make videos about that instead of trying my best to ignore who I am, maybe people will like me better. So I started cooking for you guys with Amish recipes instead of trying my best to avoid it all.
Mhm.
And now I have a whole cookbook, and you guys love it. And I'm so, so thankful that you guys are here. I took a 6-week break because I was nauseous from being pregnant, and I missed it so much. I was so happy to be back. I'm very,
Yeah.
very grateful for all of you. And as far as this pregnancy, we have been trying to get pregnant for a long time. And my last interview on here, I mentioned to you guys that we've been trying to get pregnant.
Yeah.
And if you guys want to pray about it, then we would accept that. And a lot of you guys messaged and emailed me saying that you're praying for me. And a lot of
Aw.
those messages and emails got to me like right at the time that I found out I was pregnant. And of course it was too early to tell you guys that
Yeah.
I'm pregnant, but I would have loved to just message you back and be like, thank you, because we're pregnant now. So if you
Oh,
did send an
goosebumps.
email or a message or anything like that, thank you so much. Some of you sent very, very detailed and thoughtful prayers to God on our behalf, and I am very grateful for that. So thank
That
you
is so
for praying on our
sweet.
behalf. I like to
Yeah.
say God got tired of all the nagging.
He's like, I get it, fine. Yeah, your video shot up so fast. It was the fastest
Yeah.
growing video that we've ever had on this channel. We're like, "Oh my gosh, everyone is so excited to learn more about you because they know a side of you, but they didn't know your whole story."
Yes.
And so, yeah, like I said, I was screaming at the phone and I was like, "Jonathan, Lovina's pregnant!" So excited.
I often lose sight of the fact that people don't know my story, because when I first started social media, when I first went viral, I went live on TikTok so often. I would go live and I would just tell people about my story. Like,
Yeah.
people loved it. but I went live too often and I completely burned myself out with lives on TikTok and I couldn't do it anymore. So I stopped doing lives. And then I forget that people don't know my story because I just assume, well, I told it, they know it. It's on the internet, but it was a TikTok live, so they probably don't know it. That's why I love doing these interviews because my page I'm like is about cooking and lifestyle and fun stuff like that. And I rarely just take a video and sit down and tell people who I am or what I do.
Mhm.
And so I like these interviews where people can just come and listen and figure out who I am and what my goals are in life.
Yeah.
They don't have to scroll through my videos endlessly to try and figure out who I am.
And so today we're going to focus on, like we said, pregnancy, childbirth, your
Mhm.
choices, the choices that you wouldn't have been able to make, I think, too, when you were in the
Yeah.
Amish. So we touched on this a little bit in your interview, but I want to reiterate a lot of it and I want to zoom in on it more and see if we can pick apart some of the nuance too. So let's start with talking about just a general overview of sex education, what you were taught, what you were not taught, just kind of the basics of that, and then we'll get more into pregnancy and labor.
Sex education, did not know what that was when I was Amish. I have like a vision in my mind of what it's probably supposed to be, but I've never like heard a public school. I don't even know when they teach sex education, but I've never heard a version of that teaching. So I'm not sure what they teach, but I was not taught anything. Like you're not taught anything. It is okay if you on your own find stuff out, but you're not allowed to tell people about it. There's repercussions in the Amish community from your parents usually if you go talk about this publicly. I don't know, this is kind of scandalous because these people are still alive and they are still Amish, but if I don't mention any names, the only people I will know are the people that were involved. There's this one little girl. I was 14, so I think it was my first year that I was like not in school, and my siblings went to school, and one of my little sisters, she was in the first grade, her little classmates, a little girl, came to school one day and said that she peeked in her parents' bedroom door and saw them doing you can guess what.
Uh-huh.
And she didn't know what it was or how to call it. So she had a pretty weird description for it, but every single adult knew what it meant. And that little girl got severely punished from her parents for that. And that was hushed up real fast because that's something you don't talk about in the Amish community. And so just instances like that, you even having your period, girls do not tell boys what the boys don't find out until, or they're not told until they get married what a period is. Now, if they
What?
accidentally find out beforehand, it's fine. As long as they don't talk about it, it's fine. But they're not specifically told until they get married. Like sex or anything like that is not even mentioned until, for me, and this is up to specific households, until I was 16 and a half years old, which is when you join the youth group where you can start dating then. The Amish have church every other Sunday. So every other Sunday after church in the evening around 7 o'clock, all the youth 16 and a half up until they're married will get together at the house where church was and sit around the kitchen table and sing songs. And then afterwards, you get to go home with your partner in the buggy, or you just go home if you don't have a partner. So the night before my first singing is what we call it, mom took me aside in the living room and kind of whispered to me, and she's like, she just wanted to tell me that since I'm joining the youth now, that things might happen sometimes and things that sometimes someone doesn't have control over, but she just wants me to know that women always have more control than men and to always keep my clothes on. Obviously, if I would have been clueless about sex, I would have been like, what the crap are you talking about? But I was a very curious person and I was a bookworm and I did broke some rules. Again, not openly. I did not ever break rules openly. That was not my forte. I often loved going to the library. We have mom and dad live like 7 miles from town, so every 2 weeks, once a month, they have to go to town with the horse and buggy and go to the feed mill and get a feed for their broilers and laying hens and sometimes pigs. So you'd get turns. The kids would take turns to go along to town because that was a treat. You can't go to town by yourself until you're a baptized church member. So I never went to town by myself until after I left the Amish. I was never in a town by myself. And so me and Mom went to town. I went with her sometimes because it was sometimes my turn to go along. And so we would sometimes go to the library. It was a little, maybe 12 feet by 20, 30 feet long little room with books in it. They had like a stand of free books out by the front door, and I loved sneaking those books and putting them in my pockets because their dresses had pretty big pockets. You can fit a couple books in there. Putting them in my pockets and then hiding them with my shawl because they have these big bulky shawls, and hiding my pocket with my shawl and going home and reading those books. Well, when I was 11 years old, I snuck a book out of the library, and it happened to be a very, very adult book. It focused heavily on adult scenes. It was pure smut. And that was my first interaction with anything like that. I studied that book for weeks trying to figure out what in the world they're talking about, because in books they often use things like, I'm sure if anybody's ever read an adult book, I don't have to describe the words they use sometimes to describe certain private parts.
Yeah.
And I went and looked these words up in the dictionary because we were allowed to have a dictionary. Those words weren't in the dictionary. They were in the dictionary, but they did not mean what they were being used for in the books. So I couldn't figure out what these books were talking about. Finally, it was bugging me so bad. I took the book to Mom and told her that I found this book at the library and it is a weird book and I don't know what they're talking about. And I gave her the book and she just told me that I shouldn't be reading it and she burned it. And I was like, okay, I guess that's that. It was just a weird book. Then someone dropped off several boxes of books from an old estate auction. And lo and behold, I'd found more. The second one that I read was not as descriptive. It didn't focus as much on that. So it gave me a little bit more of an idea of what they're talking about. And I started figuring this out. It's like, okay, because it also started talking about pregnancy, like, you might be pregnant. And I was like, okay, so the two correspond with each other. And then I have an older brother. He's 18 months older than I am. And he's also a bookworm. So I just automatically assumed he probably doesn't know what this is either. And I took those books and I went and I scribbled enough words out that he can't get the meaning of what they're trying to say. And Mom caught me scribbling words out and she got the book and she burned it. And I never got to finish reading that book because I was scribbling words out as I was reading it. So to this day, I cannot remember what the name of that book was. I wish I could because I'd love to see how it ended, but I don't know what it was called. So I can't know the end, which is really weird because as a general rule, I always read the last chapter of my book first. And for some reason, with that book, I decided I'm going to not read the last chapter first. And then Mom burned it. And I never got to figure out how it ended. And it was a Western romance book, like a historical Western romance book. So that was a little disappointing. But I pieced stuff together. And so when Mom told me that at the age of 16 and a half, keep your clothes on, I was like, okay, don't worry about me. I'm not that curious about it.
You're like, I know all about that.
Yeah.
I just love that you got your hands on smut books and you were trying to piece everything together. But how confusing, though, to not be able to just find out the answer of something that everybody goes through. And you just even knowing the names of your own body parts. Did you have names for your anatomy or boy's anatomy?
It's really weird. They use the Amish name for a prune. The Amish name for a prune is
a vagina?
No, it's gvetch. And so they call their vaginas gvetcha.
Wait, why are we comparing it to a prune?
I don't know. But that's what they call it. That's quite literally the only Amish way I know to call it is a gvetch. And then for the boys, their little things are just called pia. That deglarna pee. Like their little peer, like it's what they used to pee. That's what it's called.
Like a peer. Okay.
Yes, or they call it a wiener.
Okay. Well, that's accurate. That's probably the closest
But it's so
one.
funny how they use foods. Like they just call them food names.
Wait, I missed the food name. What's the food name for a penis?
A wiener.
Oh, right. Duh. Right. So that's actually really funny.
So those were the only words I knew for private parts until I started reading those books. That's why I was so confused, because they were using words like his manhood. And
Uh-huh.
I'm like, what is that? Like, what are they talking about? And then you look it up in the dictionary, and of course, manhood does not describe that,
Yeah.
really. Or in our dictionary, it didn't.
When's the first time you heard the word penis and vagina?
I think I was maybe 16 or 17 when I first heard the word penis. But China, I was much older. I feel like it was after I had left the Amish that I heard the word vagina, because I used to call it a vagina when I first left, because I didn't know how to pronounce the word, and I had to look up the pronunciation.
Yeah. Understandable.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. The funny thing about this is I had no idea what that was until I read the smut books. And then, but when I was 2011, when I was 8 years old, one time me and my parents were not at home. They had gone to the neighbors or something, going to town or something. And me and my brother accidentally figured out the combination to the safe. We were just playing with it. It was just one of those turn the wheelie ones. Just playing with the wheel. And the combination, we probably like accidentally put in a combination, and the safe opened. And
Wow.
mom had a like pregnancy book. It was from Parents' Choice, the Parents' Choice like pregnancy book. I still remember this book specifically. If I saw it to this day, I would know exactly which page to find what. It had very detailed pictures of moms with babies, like, you know, like the anatomy of a
Yeah.
person with a baby inside. And so that's how we figured out where babies come from. When I was 8 years old, me and my older brother found that book. That's how I figured out where babies come from. And there was only one like full size, like full page. This book was like 8.5 by 11. One like big picture of a mom with a baby inside that we looked at so much. There were other pictures in it that if I wouldn't have been so young and naive, I would have known, would have taught me more stuff, but I wasn't interested because you couldn't see the anatomy. Because when you're Amish, you don't see the anatomy of people ever unless you sneak into stuff you're not supposed to be in as a kid. Like as adults, you have access to it, obviously. But as a kid, you never see the anatomy inside of a person. Like they have like the World Book Encyclopedias. They will go through there and like cut the anatomies of men out where you can see like the anatomy of a private part of men and women. They will cut that out so the kids can't see it and stuff. It's quite literally, teacher has a job. Every school has these World Book Encyclopedia sets. Teacher has a job. Before the kids can have these books, the teacher has to go through every one and cut out the pictures that are too scandalous for kids. So when we found this book when I was 8 years old, I was like, okay, so the baby's inside the mom. That's how it works, because the baby like my youngest sister at the time, right before she was born, mom and dad usually send us to the neighbors while the baby was born, because it was often born at home, not always, but often. So they would send us somewhere else so someone could take care of us while the baby's born. So the last time the youngest sibling, right before we found that book was right before she was born. They were sending us away. And we were 100% certain that they were going to have a baby. So we looked everywhere in the house for this baby. We looked under the furniture. We looked everywhere for this baby, and we couldn't find the baby. We left. We came back. They had a baby. So we just assumed the baby was probably in the barn because we hadn't looked in the barn. But then we found this book, and that kind of explained it. Like, oh boy, the baby's inside the mom. But for some reason never crossed my mind, like, how does it get out? Never crossed my mind. They did later, after I figured out how they got out. I remembered this. They had a picture of, like, a smaller picture of a woman laying on her back, with her legs up and a doctor like pulling the baby out. That didn't click in my little 8-year-old brain. But once I was 12 years old, it like sometimes bugged me a little bit. I was 12 years old. I was sitting in the bathtub one Saturday evening taking a bath, and I was thinking so hard about this, like, where does that baby come out? How does it come out? Like, how does that work? So because I was like, if they cut the stomach open, she'll die. She can't come out at the bottom. She can't come out at the top. Like, how does this baby come out? And then all of a sudden, it clicked in my mind that I saw that picture, and I was like, so the baby does come out at the bottom, but how? I didn't know where at the bottom it came out. I just knew it came out at the bottom, and I never knew where it came out until after I left the Amish, and I kind of educated myself a little bit on that stuff. Until then, I did not know that you have one hole for babies and one for urine.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know that until after I left the Amish and kind of educated myself a little bit on that.
Wow. So even your mother, you didn't notice because of the dress, you didn't notice that her belly was growing?
Yes, we noticed. We just had no idea why. We just after we found that book, we knew why. Somehow, most Amish kids, by the time they're teenagers, they figure out that the baby grows inside the mom. And so when they see a pregnant mom, it's pregnancy among the Amish is looked at as they obviously love kids and they think having kids is their duty and everything being fruitful. But pregnant women are looked at as shameful. They hide their pregnancy as best as possible. They are not proud of their pregnancy. Like, they hide it as best as they can, and going out in public with a pregnant belly is not fun for them. Oftentimes, like, say they're at church and they're like heavily pregnant, and say they walk past the line of teenage boys, because at church the oldest not married boy all the way down to 10 years old, they all sit in age without their parents, just file in, sit on benches. And so sometimes when you say you're going out to the restroom or something in the middle of the service, because their services last like 3 hours, you have to walk right past these little 12-year-old boys, and you're big and pregnant, and they're all like just kind of snickering at the fact that you're fat and pregnant, because they know. So it's a very humiliating thing to be pregnant among the Amish. I never look forward to being pregnant among the Amish. I used to dream of having babies and not having a bump when I was Amish, because that was like my dream thing, was not having a bump when I get pregnant. Obviously, I got over that, but it's very not fun. The next time after we found that book, the next time mom got pregnant, then me and my older brother figured it out. We were out in the pasture. We were fetching the cows, the milk cows. And we were talking about this, and I said something to him that mom is getting fat. And he's like, no, he thinks she's just getting like grandma, because mom's mom, our grandma, is a pretty heavy-set woman. So he's like, no, I think she's just getting like grandma. They're not having a baby. She's just getting like grandma. Like, he thinks they're done having kids, because at that point they had 7 kids already. So I was like, okay. And then she got bigger and bigger, and one day they left and they came back and they had a baby. And immediately I looked at her stomach, and of course it was smaller, and I was like, I knew it. I knew the baby came out of her. That's kind of how we pieced it all together. It took several years. I'd say starting at the time I was 8 years old, and I did not know all the details until well after I left the Amish, probably 19 years old by the time I figured it all out.
So did you ever ask your mom, are you pregnant, or is there a baby? Did you have a word for pregnancy, for pregnant?
No, it's very not talked about. They, instead of saying pregnant, like, I don't want to blast my sister here, but I was talking with my sister. We had visited last week. I was talking with her, and we're talking about getting pregnant, because they want to get pregnant. And they won't say get pregnant. Like, they won't say I want to get pregnant. They will say I want to get like that. Like, I want to get like that. They won't say like I want to get pregnant, because there's no like Amish word for pregnancy. So they won't say I want to get pregnant. They would just say "Ivel so vada," which means I want to get like that.
Yeah, the disconnect is so interesting to me, because
Yeah.
having as many children as possible is pretty much the point and the goal, but then somehow pregnancy is shameful. Do you think
I
pregnancy is
know.
considered shameful because you have to have sex to get pregnant? And so everyone knows that you've had sex?
I think, yes. I wouldn't know any other reason why it would be shameful, except
Yeah.
the fact that it's very secret. Like they don't talk about periods, they don't talk about sex, they don't talk about pregnancy. So when the evidence shows up that you're pregnant, while it's like a secret is trying to get out, they try their best to hide it.
I assume then if they are trying to hide the pregnancy and it's considered shameful, the pregnant mother has no relief in her duties or her work. She just has to continue on as if everything was normal.
Yep.
Ooh.
She does say, I am so grateful that I'm not Amish because I don't think I would have survived morning sickness. I do not think that I got prescribed Sofran because it was bad enough. Because Amish do not know what Sofran is. They would not take Sofran. So I don't know. I often think about this. If I was Amish, how would I be surviving this? My life would be way, way tougher than it is now if I was Amish. That is for sure.
Right.
I remember a year and a half or so after I had left the Amish, I had gone back to visit my family, and it was the Saturday before they were having church. And they needed to have the house all clean and everything by Sunday morning, so I decided to help them. Just that Saturday afternoon that I was there, and I helped them. I did work, and I helped with the work and everything, and by golly, I didn't even do that much work, or not according to their standards, but I was so tired, and it was like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I was like, I'm so tired. It's like I'm leaving. Bye. And I went to bed. I went to bed early that night, and I had a night of sleep. Like I am not built for that life anymore. Not there's like from 5 in the morning till 10 at night, no rest. And I remember when I was Amish, the brain fog you get from being so tired all the time. Like your brain just doesn't work. You just feel like you're gonna slump, but you can't because you have to work. So I'm eternally grateful that I am practicing my free will a little bit more than they are. Because
Yeah.
I could not do that.
Major respect to those women who just have to
Oh my
bear
God.
down, continue working. Oh man, first and third trimester, all I want to do is sleep. It's just so hard.
Something that really gets to me is one of my classmates got married 3 years ago, maybe. Yeah, probably 3 years ago, got married. And of course, right away, baby. Like a year and a half after the first baby comes second baby. And she's young, but she's popping out babies like this. And obviously she's tired. I was at my sister's place like a year ago or so, and they were talking about her. Like she was telling me about her, and she was like, "Yeah, her house is so dirty. Like it doesn't look like she does much work. Her house is just so dirty." And I'm like, "How many kids does she have?" And she's like, "2. They're under 2 years old." And I'm like, "Yeah, my house would be dirty too." I am not saying one bad thing about that person because my house would be dirty too. I wouldn't even attempt to keep it clean anymore at that point.
Exactly.
It's not even just the fact that she has 2 under 2. It's the fact that she has 2 under 2. She has to keep the house clean, cook 3 meals a day, pack lunches for her husband who does carpenter work. She has to grow a garden, do laundry, like all the laundry, iron the clothes. Like she has to keep up with everything. Plus her 2 little kids under 2 years old. And she's expected to do this. She's not expected to get any help while she's doing all of this.
And this is without electricity or running water, right?
Without electricity, most of them have gravity pressured water. So most of them have water piped into their house, cold water. If they want hot water, build a fire, heat your water up, which means carry the wood into the house, build a fire, heat your water up. It's not as simple as opening the other side of the faucet. I would not last. I just simply would not last. I think I would go into depression very, very fast.
Pregnancy is hard enough on its own, let alone all of those additional expectations, not being able to rest. And I'm sure that actually affects the pregnancy as well and the health of the mother, I want to talk about their options when it comes to the term of their pregnancy and actually delivering. Do you know what their options were as far as like prenatal care and all of that?
All I know is like what I like kind of figured out over the years was my mom. I quite literally do not know a thing about any of my neighbors or how any of their kids were born. I know it's different from family to family. So all I know is my mom, how my mom did it. She did at home if she could. I do know she did 3 babies in a row at a birthing center. That was her 4th, 5th, and 6th baby. Were all born at a birthing center. And I don't know, did she choose that specifically, or did she try at home and it didn't work and she went to the birthing center? I know she had a midwife from the birthing center, like she had a non-Amish midwife from the birthing center for those 3. And then after that, the next baby was born at home. The 8th baby was born, I think she was born at a birthing center again. Yes, she was. And then the 9th baby was born in a hospital. The 9th baby was actually, I remember that because they were in the hospital for 2 days, which was very unusual. Like, we didn't know what was going on. We just knew that mom and dad were not at home. It's during the summer, so school wasn't in session. So I was old enough. That was in 2014. So I would have been 11 years old. So I was old enough that I could like take care of the stuff at home while they were gone. So we didn't have like anybody that had to come help or anything. We just took care of stuff at home and they were gone overnight. So we were on our own and we just had fun. And then they came home the second day with a baby, and that by then I was old enough to realize when things were like not quite right. That was the 9th baby, and he was born with fluid on his lungs. So they had to like keep him at the hospital for a little bit so he survives. And mom, it was hard on mom. Like I could tell like she was usually a lot more chipper after having a baby, but it was really hard on her, I could tell. And then the 10th baby at home, easy. 11th baby at home, easy. The 12th baby at home, easy. The 13th baby, I had left the Amish and I left that there at 10:30 on a Saturday night. I had gone to visit. The baby was like a week overdue. Had left at 10:30 at night, and that baby was born before midnight. They were like off to bed by when I left. So that baby was also born easier. So the last 4 were all born at home, and it was all like easy births.
Okay.
But sometimes things were complicated. They did go to the hospital. I know the first one for my older brother, they went to the hospital. Then I was born at home. My sister was born, I think, at a birthing center. And then was the 4th, 5th, and 6th were all born at birthing centers. So they did go to hospitals if they had to, but they tried their best not to.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as prenatal care, as far as I know, it's all up to the mother to do whatever she wants to do. Like as far as vitamins go and stuff. I know my mom was really good with taking her vitamins and stuff while she was pregnant, and always, even if she wasn't pregnant, because usually if she wasn't pregnant, she was breastfeeding. So she was always really good with taking, which is where I get all my knowledge for taking vitamins and stuff is directly from her and from what she taught me about health and vitamins growing up. Because I know my youngest sister was overdue and she was born at home. So I don't know. Because I know in most states, if you have a midwife, if the baby is born 2 weeks early or 2 weeks late, it has to be born at the hospital.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that works with them. I don't know if they go by those rules or not. I have no idea how they do that. I don't even know if they like file with the state that they're pregnant. Like I know they get birth certificates and stuff right afterwards, but I don't know if they like say they get pregnant. I'm kind of assuming with the last 4, they were all born at home with like no midwives. They had an Amish neighbor's lady over. She was like an older neighbor's lady and she helped. But other than that, there was no one there.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they ever like file with the state that they were pregnant, or did they just have a baby and then get a birth certificate? I don't know. That's just like what I learned. And these babies, the 4 last ones that were born at home, the second last one was born during the day when we were all gone for the day because school was in session. I was a school teacher, and my sister was helping out one of the neighbors, like helping them get ready for church, and she had taken along the little girls that weren't in school. And then all the other siblings were in school. The boys were at work, and dad just stayed home. The baby was born at home while everybody was just gone for the day. The third last one and the fourth last one, they were both born during the night. That's very, very common. And then the last one was also born during the night. So everybody would be asleep. Like, you wouldn't hear anything because they keep it quiet and everything. They're just born in the bedroom downstairs. The parents have a bedroom downstairs, and then all the kids usually sleep upstairs. So the parents can make a little noise. The kids don't usually hear it. So the babies are usually born in the parents' bedroom on the bed. It's not a big to do.
I'm really happy to hear that they have the option to go to the hospital if they need
Yeah.
it. I've interviewed people. There was a woman, her name's Elizabeth, we interviewed from an Amish community who had 7 sons, and she talked about horrific birthing experiences where she and the baby nearly died, and she wasn't getting emergency care. They were using veterinary tools with unlicensed midwives who didn't know really what they were doing. And so I wondered what it was like for you, but I'm really glad that your mom had the option to go to the hospital. Now, you weren't allowed to have cell phones though, right? You would have to go to a
No.
landline to call for help if necessary.
So the communities all have their phone shacks, usually within a mile to 2 miles from their house. They have like a community phone, community landline where everybody can use a phone, use the one phone. And fortunately enough, my parents' phone shack is only like less than a quarter of a mile up the road. So it's like a quick little run up the hill to get to the phone, which is still, if you're in an emergency, that's not fast, but it's fast enough that people don't usually die. Okay, getting off track a little bit here. You said you interviewed a woman named Elizabeth. Do you know what her last name was?
Hilty.
Hildy. Okay, okay. I was just curious because you said Elizabeth was 7 sons. I know.
Mhm.
I was just curious because there's this one widow. I don't know if she's a widow either. There's this one widow with 7 kids who left the Amish recently, or not so long ago. And I was trying to figure out if it's the woman I think it is, because if it is, I would know her. But no, I don't know Hildy. So
Okay.
on her.
Yeah. So would they allow emergency vehicles? Did you ever see ambulances come in?
I've never seen an ambulance come in a driveway. They do use ambulances often against their will. And one time one of my little sisters got life flighted. She it wouldn't have been necessary, but mom and dad again didn't really have a choice. The doctors didn't really give them a choice because they don't believe that you should be on airplanes or anything. They don't believe you should fly. So one of my little sisters got into fly bait. They have these, I'm not sure. I'm sure if you live in the country and you have flies, you probably know what I'm talking about. Looks kind of like bacon bits, except it's all blue, light blue, and they're dry. You sprinkle them with water for fly bait. And one of my little sisters got a hold of a can of that while we were out in the garden working. One of our brothers was supposed to be watching her, and he didn't. And which he was a little kid. Whatever. She got into the fly bait. She ate a lot of it. And dad wasn't at home when it happened. He was like an hour and a half from home. So mom gave her milk, made her puke, all that stuff. She was a year old when it happened. Her dad got there. They went to the hospital. The hospital said she might die or she might like drown on her own fluids. They life flighted her to another hospital that was a 2-hour drive away. And they life flighted her to Mercy Children's in Des Moines, Iowa, if anybody's from Des Moines. By the time they got there, she was fine. They took her home that evening yet. So the lifeline wouldn't have been necessary, but mom and dad didn't even get a say in it. The doctors just took the kid and didn't even ask mom and dad about it. So they did that. And then not long after that, one of my brothers had a seizure just out of the blue. He was maybe 4 or 5 years old, just out of the blue had a serious seizure. And they took him to hospital again, just a driver that like they always had drivers, people, non-Amish people running around that knew them, took him to the hospital, and he was in very bad shape. That would have been life flight worthy, very much. He was in the hospital for several days on life support, and he made it out. He never had a seizure again. They don't know what caused it to this day.
Well,
That day, instead of life flight, they used an ambulance to get to, because mom and dad lived like 15 miles from a little town with just like a little hospital. And then it's another 2-hour drive to Des Moines, Iowa. So their first hospital is always to drive to the Leon, Iowa hospital with just a personal vehicle. And then from there, Leon, Iowa hospital can't do much. They usually can't do much. So they usually like life flight or ambulance to Des Moines or St. Joe, Missouri or somewhere. When I broke my leg, my femur bone, I broke it on the side of the road about 15 miles from Leon, and someone offered to call the ambulance. And I was like, nope, it's a broken leg, does not need an ambulance because ambulances are expensive and they don't have insurance. They took me to the hospital in the personal vehicle, got to the hospital, and Leon did what they could to like brace my leg up and stuff. And then they put me in an ambulance and took me down to St. Joe, Missouri or Cameron, Missouri to a hospital there. So they do use ambulances if they have to, but they prefer not to because of the price.
Yeah, which makes sense. They're extremely expensive.
Mom and Dad eventually just stopped paying for the life flight bill because it was getting atrocious.
Oh my gosh. So to go back to the pregnancy, I have this burning question. How in the world do they breastfeed if they have to do so much work and take care of so many kids? And also, don't you have straight pins on your dress? Like, how does this even work?
Okay, so the front of the dress, you get these. You can do straight pins if you want, but you get these little miniature safety pins. I think these are called
Okay.
safety pins. They're just miniature, so they open like this and snap closed, so they wouldn't hurt a baby. But
Okay.
yes, they breastfeed. I don't know how they do it with all the work they do, except they eat. Mom never had a problem with breastfeeding. Like she breastfed all her babies till they were a year old or older. I guess I never thought of that they would have they just do it, I guess.
Yeah, but you got to do it every 2 hours when they're a newborn. How is she sneaking away?
Okay, Amish moms actually have it really nice with their newborns. When their babies are born, for the first 4 to 6 weeks, they stay in bed. They don't have to do anything.
Okay.
Like they don't have to do anything. They don't go anywhere because if they go anywhere, they have to go with horse and buggy. They don't take that baby on a buggy ride till that baby's at least 6 weeks old. They don't go anywhere. They don't do anything. So seeing someone out in public to this day with a 2-week-old baby is very, like, wow to me. Because I'm like, you stay home with that baby till they're at least a month old. It's still like in my brain like that. So the way the moms can do that even with a bunch of kids is they have what's called a mate. It's usually a teenage girl from the community, anywhere from the age of 15 to however old, as long as they're not married, comes and stays at their house for those 4 to 6 weeks, just stays there every day, all day, and is basically the housewife while the mom is in bed just taking care of the baby. And that's all the mom has to do for the first 4 to 6 weeks. So that's really nice for them. But after
Yeah.
that, they're on their own again. So
Yeah, I don't know how, because thinking of breastfeeding with my first, I breastfed her till she was about 13 months. And it's just constant. You just gotta whip out the boob all the time. And I know how you have to cover up at all times. So just imagining having to
they don't
go into a
cover
different
up.
room. They don't cover
They
up?
don't cover up. They don't sit down. They don't go into different rooms. It was very, very common for mom to have her boob out holding the baby and working while she's
Wait.
breastfeeding.
Wait,
That
what?
was very, very common. If an Amish person came to the door, she answered it while she was breastfeeding, just holding the baby. Like, she multitasked. Breastfeeding is not taboo in the Amish. Everybody breastfeeds everywhere, and they don't cover up.
I am shooketh, Lovina.
Obviously, they don't let their boobs just hang out. But if that baby is suction onto the nipple or not, the baby's just like looking around, the nipple hangs out. And this is also from community to community, woman to woman. But my community, people, they breastfed everywhere.
Okay.
They hung their boobs out anywhere.
I have to say, I'm not shocked because I think it's wrong. I think it's amazing. I love that they can be free enough and not have that shame. How in the world everything is so contradictory with these rules? So you have to cover up to your neck, to your wrist, to your
Uh-huh.
ankles. You have to cover your hair because if someone sees your hair, they might get aroused. But then you have dates where you go home together and lie in bed before
Yeah.
you're married to cuddle all
Yeah.
night. But then you can't know about pregnancy because it's shameful and wrong. But then you can breastfeed with your boob.
I know.
What?
So
And you
the way their breastfeeding works is with the dresses like this. They just take the pins out here and they just like pull it aside and breastfeed. And once they're done, they close it up again. And then at church or on Sundays or if they're visiting, they have like a cape that comes down. And I don't know if you can see here, like it comes down and stuffs in right here. Like it goes down in here. So they just pull that out and then open it and do it like that.
This is so interesting.
Okay, to give you a little bit of an understanding of what breastfeeding was like. One time, fishing was a very big treat. Fishing is a very big treat among most Amish. It definitely is in my family. And it's usually reserved for Saturday afternoons when all the housework is done, because they mop the whole house every Saturday. They clean all their oil lamps. They wipe down their furniture. They get everything ready for Sundays. And they usually do that Saturday mornings. So Saturday afternoons are free. And oftentimes in the spring or summer, they will go fishing on Saturday afternoons. And my mom, we went fishing one Saturday afternoon when the fourth baby was born in July. So he was like 10 or 11 months old, would probably been May or June, because that's when they usually started going fishing. He was still breastfeeding, so he was under a year old, but he was also kind of big. And we were out fishing, and Mom was sitting on the pond bank. They don't go out in boats, they just sit on the pond bank to fish. And she was sitting on the pond bank in a chair, just like we had a little like wooden chair, like a child-sized chair that we had taken along so she could sit in it. So was sitting there breastfeeding, had her dress open and everything, and she was fishing at the same time that she was breastfeeding, and she caught a big fish. It was like a long, like 25-inch catfish. It was to this day the biggest catfish I think any of us has ever caught. And she bought a huge catfish, and we like eating catfish. And she reeled it in, had it in like on the bank, not up by her, but on the bank. And this bank went like downhill to the water. And that catfish got off the hook, like wiggled and got off the hook and landed on the grass instead of wiggling towards the water. And Mom just like, she dropped her line and she grabbed the baby with one hand and she just dove down the pond bank and grabbed that fish. It had entered the water by that time, and she just grabbed that fish. And she caught the fish, and she was still breastfeeding.
With the baby still latched.
Yes. Yes.
She's a saint. Oh my gosh.
Oh
That's
my gosh.
amazing.
I saw her way too many times running around the house, picking up and making lunch while holding the baby.
Wow.
She never, or pretty much never, just sat down and breastfed the baby unless it was like in the evening, almost bedtime. She was always working while she was feeding this baby.
I am so impressed. Okay, I want to get to you now. So we have context as to what your options may have been or would have been. And now you're pregnant. And I haven't asked you because I wanted to ask on the recording, how far along are you?
I have a very hard time remembering how far along I am.
Are we in the second trimester?
Yes.
Okay.
I am at the beginning of the second trimester. I think I'm 14 weeks.
Okay.
It's Monday. 14 weeks and 3 days, I think.
Okay.
That's
so
how far along.
exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first trimester was horrible.
Yes, it was horrible. I expect my baby to be born late because it's a first time baby. I've only ever once in my life seen a first time baby be born early. So I expect the baby to be born late. So I like kind of have in my mind, I kind of have like a timeline for when I need the baby because I'm doing a home birth.
Okay.
Natural home birth, water birth.
Oh,
I am not a fan of hospitals, so that's what I'm doing. So I kind of have like a timeline for when I need this baby to be born, how late this baby can be born at the latest before I have to go to the hospital. So
okay.
I don't even remember how far along I am. If I'm feeling good and I still have pregnancy symptoms, then we're good. I don't keep track of
Yeah, and then there's me. I have the app that I always look at.
I have an app too. Every time someone asks me how far along I am, I have to go on my phone and look.
Uh-huh.
But the thing is, in the app, I have my expected due date or
Yeah.
my 40-week due date, and I don't expect this baby to be born at 40 weeks at all. Maybe I'm manifesting something here, but I expect this baby to be late because it's first time baby. So I'm like, well, this is my expected due date, but this is when I think it's gonna be born.
So when is your guess date, your 40 week?
I'm not even sure. I get several.
Do you know the month?
I do know the months. The month is September, but she could be born. It's a girl. Could
It's a
be born as late
girl.
as October.
Okay.
Before I have to go to the hospital. So I don't know. So she might be born in September or October. We don't know. We don't know.
How exciting.
I feel like it's such a wide range for when they can be born.
Yeah, it's a month. You have a whole month, give or take, from your, I call it a guess date because, yeah, you never know.
Like, I don't even put much stock in due dates. Or not for the first baby. I think the second baby, I'm going to be a lot more specific. But the first baby, I'm like, come whenever she wants to come.
Yeah. So I want to talk through your choices and your decisions and how you came to those conclusions, which, by the way, I'm also going for a home water birth. So love that. I won't get into my full birth story with Rhea because I also want to give you beautiful impressions that it's going to go exactly as you want. I tried that with her. It didn't happen, but I'm going for it this time.
Oh, man. I've seen too much.
So I'm doing everything I can, spinning babies techniques and stretching and trying to open the pelvis and eating the dates and all the things. But I would love to know, what was it that made you lean toward home birth, and if it had anything to do with how you were raised, or if it just has everything to do with what you've currently researched and what you're comfortable with?
I don't think the way I was raised really had anything to do with the way I'm doing births. It might, like in the back of my consciousness, it might have had something to do with it. But since I've left the Amish, I have learned so very much about births that I did not know when I was Amish. I've learned way more than my mom probably knows. Like, just about the techniques you can do, how different things can be, like how you can choose to do different things different ways. Because they don't really research, they just kind of do it. And if it works, they don't need to know why. So I am very much health geared. Grow my own food if I can. Get my own meat if I can. Like, don't rely on the grocery store for stuff if I don't have to. That is very much how I operate in my life. Be as natural as possible, because I was natural my whole life and my body usually does not very much appreciate it if I try to eat junk food or take ibuprofen or something. Like, it kind of rejects it, if that makes sense. When I got pregnant, by the time I got pregnant, way back when I got married, I decided if I ever have birth, it won't be in a hospital, if at all possible. Some of my friends go to the hospital. I know 3 pretty close friends of mine who just had their first babies. They were all born in hospitals. One of them not by choice, 2 of them very much by choice. And then I have another 2 very close friends / relatives that had babies, first babies and second babies. The first baby was born at home. They ended up going to the hospital right after she was born because it was a complicated birth. And the second baby was born at home. Then my sister-in-law had a baby at home. The easiest birth ever. It's just kind of all of that. I'm kind of surrounded by a community, and they're not ex-Amish anything. They're just like people who are more natural minded towards stuff like that. Kind of surrounded by a community who tries to do things as natural as possible. So I've just always decided, if I ever get pregnant, if I ever have a baby, I am going to do my best to make sure that baby is born at home and as natural as possible. If there is one thing I'm more scared of, I'm not scared of labor. I am actually kind of looking forward to labor. The only part of labor that I'm scared of is tearing. I don't know why I'm so scared of tearing, but I really don't want to tear. And I would say the only thing I'm more scared of than tearing is going to the hospital. The only thing I'm more scared of than going to the hospital is getting an epidural or a C-section. If someone threatens me with an epidural or a C-section, I'm like, this baby's going whoosh, because a long time ago, soon after I left the Amish, I found out what an epidural was. The first 2 months after I left the Amish, I lived with my cousin, and she was having her baby, her first baby. No, her second baby. And with her first one, she had an epidural and it had gone wrong. And so she was having like very bad side effects from it. With her second pregnancy, which is when I was living with her, and then that baby was born, it was not a good birth. It went kind of wrong. So I looked up epidurals, very wisely looked up epidurals and watched videos. And I watched a video demonstration of how epidural needles are put in. And I'm not scared of needles in general, but I am freaking scared of epidural needles because I have heard way, way too many horror stories of people who have gotten paralyzed from their back simply because something went like the tiniest little bit wrong with their spinal cord or whatever. And I'm like, keep it away from me. I always say if someone wants me to give birth to a baby fast, just threaten me with an epidural. Now, I have no idea how it'll go once I'm actually giving birth, but I'm very scared of epidurals. My husband has tried telling me that if it's too painful, they're gonna take me to the hospital and give me an epidural, and I'm like, the freak you will not.
Well, if I can be any consolation, I did not want an epidural either. After 28 hours, I was like, I'm exhausted, and I was
Mhm.
ready for it because things weren't happening, they weren't progressing. She ended up being
Yeah.
stuck. But anyways, I feel like because I completely understand where you're coming from. And when I did get the epidural, it was helpful, but I still ended up with a C-section. I think so.
Oh.
Something that I want everyone to mull over in their minds. So epidurals are not very old. Like it's a fairly new advancement.
Yes,
And I think
yeah,
they do have a place. And I do think that the hospital has a place. And it's great that we
yeah.
have the option, if in an emergency, to go to the hospital and get that advanced care.
Mhm.
And I think that women are extremely capable as long as it's a low risk pregnancy and everything is monitored and you have people who are professionals making sure that everything is okay. Physiological birth is something that we've been doing forever. So if the conditions are right, if you are feeling safe, if you have the right support system and the right team who in the moment thinks, okay, this isn't safe anymore, we need to transfer you, I feel like if you are that supported, there's nothing wrong with going for a home birth because it can be a beautiful experience and it can be
Yeah,
transformative and it can be a lot easier for the baby without pumping your body full of drugs because there are risks and side effects of the epidural that I think a
yes.
lot of people gloss over just because they don't want to deal with the pain, which I can also understand. So pros and cons to all of it, and I'm sure you've done research on all of those things.
Yeah, I have. I am going to try my best to have a home birth, but I'm unfortunately going to also, I am the kind of person that does not trust in just one option, so I'm probably going to mentally and physically prepare just in case we have to run to the hospital because we're quite a ways from the hospital. So it would be a little bit of a drive. But I have an amazing midwife and care team. Like she's awesome. She's really good at what she does. She's been doing it for many years. So she's amazing. Really amazing. So that friend I was talking about that did her first baby where they ended up in the hospital, that baby took several days of labor to get here, and then the baby ended up in the hospital because she had like amniotic fluid on her lungs or something. I'm not sure. Like she had something where they had to take her to the hospital, and
Mm-hmm.
so that was, I'm like, I don't want my baby to have to go to the hospital, but I would much, much rather have a home birth and then end up in the hospital because of the baby than have a home birth and end up in the hospital because of me. Because I'm like, if I am able to be healthy and watch over the baby, good. But if I'm unhealthy and can't take care of the baby, I feel like I'd be kind of worried because I know people can take care of babies more than just me, but I'd still want to take care of my own baby if I possibly can.
Yeah. Just having the birth plan and then knowing that it can change at any time and being willing to be
Yeah.
flexible.
Yeah, and birth is so
So
birth is
unpredictable.
so very unpredictable, I know. Yeah, I'm just praying that everything goes really well and trusting God that He will let happen what is best for us. So,
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. Is there anything that you have learned from the Amish that you want to make sure and implement, whether it's newborn care or prenatal or postnatal care, that you want to take with you?
I feel like babies taking care of newborns, I have learned a lot from my mom, and I'm going to be implementing pretty much everything I know from my mom. If it were not for everything I learned with my siblings as newborns, I would not have a clue how to take care of babies. So everything I'm going to be pretty much every way I'm going to be taking care of my baby is going to be something that I'm remembering from my childhood and I learned from my mom. Obviously, I'm going to have pointers and stuff from the midwife and stuff, but like Amish always swaddle their babies for the first 4 weeks, and all of my siblings loved it. It's not even a question. Like they just get swaddled from the moment they're born, and they stay swaddled until they're 4 weeks old. And none of my siblings ever had a problem with it. So I'm probably gonna try that. Now they don't swaddle them like in modern day swaddling. They just like wrap them really tightly in a blanket so they look like a little burrito. So I'm gonna do that with my baby. All of my siblings took pacifiers, so I'm gonna try and give my baby a passia. I guess if it doesn't go through, then it doesn't go through, and that's fine. But I would like it if the baby would take a passage just because oftentimes when they're teething and stuff, it's nice if they have the comfort of a passy if they don't mind that. As far as like teething tips, I got a lot of that from my mom. Chamomile and clove oil. I know clove oil is like, do not ever give your baby clove oil. Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe when Google told me that. I was like, are you serious? What else are you supposed to do when they're teething? Clove oil on the gums, not like raw clove oil, but clove oil, you can get baby teething oil that has clove oil in it on their gums. Helps like numb their gums. That works amazing. And chamomile works good to calm them down. Like you can give them chamomile tea or chamomile little baby capsules or something like that. And then calcium, herbal calcium. My mom lived on herbal calcium when we were kids. Like she gave us that stuff like she believed in it, which she did. And I often think that's why our teeth are so nice because she made sure we got our calcium our whole life, not just as babies, but our whole life because you need calcium for your bones, for your teeth, for all of that stuff to develop. It's all made of calcium. So if you don't have calcium, I'd imagine you'd be pretty miserable. Something I always say to moms is if your baby's not getting calcium and they're very cranky, then that might help like fix the problem if they get calcium. So mom always just did liquid herbal calcium and I'm gonna be implementing that.
What about diapers?
First month maybe. I'm just gonna do disposable diapers to kind of help them get settled in. And then I'm switching to cloth diapering from then on. So
Okay. What about for you? Because I know that nutrition is incredibly important
yeah.
postpartum and you're a great cook. So do you have a whole bunch of recipes in mind that you learned that specifically help mothers postpartum in the Amish?
I don't know if we all know, but a lot of people know like breastfeeding, what they call breastfeeding cookies or breastfeeding energy balls or something to help keep your milk supply up. Something that mom always ate was oatmeal cookies, which I'm going to be implementing. I specifically like the everything cookies in my cookbook because they don't have flour and they have a lot of oatmeal. And if you don't like all the sugar, I literally cut down the sugar until it suits my wants and needs. So oatmeal cookies for breast milk production, and mom always made sure she had like chicken broth and not store-bought chicken broth, like her own homemade chicken broth. So I'm gonna be planning on this summer canning a lot of stuff. I want to can like chicken noodle soup, chicken broth, chili soup, can like nutritious things and put stuff in the freezer so my husband can just like heat it up in a pot and give it to me, because I'm not, for the first 2 weeks after baby's born, I'm planning on staying in bed as much as possible. Well, obviously
Yeah.
getting up and walking around a little bit, but resting as much as possible so my body can just recover, and sleeping, because I'm so taking advantage of those first 2 weeks and my husband can just take care of me. So I'm going to be
Yes.
sleeping as much as the baby allows me to and just eating. And my husband
Yeah.
is going to be the one heating up my food. So
I would pay you to ship me some of your homemade bone broth and cookies. Name your price.
oh my gosh, I'm so flipping happy. I have not been keeping my followers updated with everything. So we got broilers, meat birds, little chicks in February. They were hatched on February 10, and we got them 2 or 3 days after they were hatched. And usually, those things take 6 to 8 weeks until they're big enough to butcher them. Until they're like, I think usually 6 to 8 pounds, and then you can butcher them. Oh my goodness, we got these things on February 10. It is currently March 30th. Yeah. Those things are fat, big, wattly, not at all cuddly broilers now. I butchered them all except 4 of them. I got 20. I butchered them all except 4 of them, stuck a bunch in the freezer, and ate some fresh. And I don't know what, they're the same exact breed that my parents got. I don't know why in the world they grow so fast, but the meat is unbelievably good. If you have never had homegrown chicken meat and you think store-bought is good, you need to taste homegrown chicken meat. It is on another scale. It does not even taste related to store-bought chicken. It
Whoa.
doesn't have the same color. It doesn't have the same taste. You know how chicken always tastes chickeny?
Yeah.
Homegrown chicken doesn't taste like that. I didn't know what that was until after I left the Amish, and I kept seeing it in videos. And then I thought about it and I was like, yes, the store-bought chicken we're eating does taste like that. A homegrown chicken doesn't taste like that. Ever. You can eat as much chicken as you want, and in my opinion, it never tastes chickeny.
Yeah.
I'm very happy with those, and I kept all of my bones and stuff. When I trimmed off the breast meat from the breastbone plate, I kept all of those, and I've stuck them in the freezer for now, but I'm going to turn them into chicken broth, because homemade chicken broth is so flipping good. I do not like store-bought chicken broth, but I will drink homemade chicken broth every day, all day. It is so good, and it's full of collagen. Like, it actually chills up when it gets cold. So
Right.
yes, I love my homemade chicken broth. I would love to. I know we're not that far apart. I'm actually getting really hungry for those cookies now. I should make some.
Me too. I'm so hungry. The 3rd trimester, I'm like, I just want to eat everything, but I can't
I'm
because
only the second trimester. I'm like limiting myself. I have to
yeah.
I eat like a balance. I eat like a little tiny breakfast, and then in the first like right after I got out of my nausea, right into the second trimester, I would eat like a tiny breakfast right after I got up, like maybe some yogurt with fruit, just so I don't get nauseous. And then I would cook myself like eggs and sausage with some avocado and stuff like that, like my actual breakfast.
Yeah.
So I would eat that, and then because I'm pregnant, I'm always tired, so I always get up late. So it's usually 10 o'clock by the time I eat that. And then I don't eat anything until supper at around 6 o'clock in the evening. So I'm like 2 balanced meals a day, and I get so flipping hungry. I get so
Girl, you
hungry.
gotta eat. Just eat
I
more.
know, but this is like an ingredient household. We don't have snacks. So if I want to eat something, I have to cook. And
You gotta batch ahead of time.
that's why I need to make cookies. Those things, I am so hungry for a cookie right now. I think I might just whip up a little batch this
Oh
afternoon.
my gosh, I'm so jealous. Yeah, the worst part about, not the worst part, one of the worst parts about pregnancy is you're so hungry, but then you can't eat as much because your stomach is pushed up
Oh,
so
I was
high.
gonna mention that when I got into my first trimester, when I ate those 2 little breakfasts in the morning. Well, now I'm a little further into my second trimester, and I can't eat more than the little breakfast anymore. Like, I
Yeah.
eat that, and
There's
I'm
no
like,
room.
I feel like I'm suffocating.
Do you have a bump yet? Have you started showing?
Very little. It's like,
Can we see your bump? I'll show you mine if you show me yours.
send Depending what, I don't know, can you even see? Like,
Oh, a little bump. You have a little bump. How are you gonna fit? How are you? Oh, wait, well, I'll show you mine. Okay, ready for this? Oh, here we go. Let me get myself up here. Here's mine.
yeah, that's a bump. See, mine is so little, it just looks like I maybe ate a little too much lunch or something.
Is your dress gonna continue to fit? Because I was wondering about that with your
No,
content.
it will not. It will not continue to fit.
Because you have a waistband that goes lower than under the boobs, right?
Yes. Okay, the waist I think I could make fit, but the problem is that expanded right there. And there's not much space right here.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So are you gonna make a new dress for your content? A pregnancy dress?
A long time ago, not a long time ago, but last fall, I started making a new dress. I cut it all out. I started sewing it together. And then I got busy with the cookbook launch and everything, and I quit. And I made it a little bit bigger than this one, but I don't know if I made it enough bigger that it's going to fit in the pregnancy. So I have to get that out and see if it'll fit. If it will fit, I'll just finish that. If it will not fit, I will have to order more fabric from my Amish cousin in Minnesota owns a fabric store, so I'll just have to write her and ask her to send me more fabric and make a new dress. I have fabric here that I could make a new dress. I have either red or blue or brown. I have either of those fabrics, but I want green.
Yeah, that's your signature.
Yeah, I'm gonna write her if I can't wear this dress. I was gonna have it done by the end of this week because this week I have a book signing in Grapevine, Texas at the public library
Oh.
on Saturday, April 4th in the afternoon from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. So if you're listening, we will be in Grapevine at the public library from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. We will have popcorn, do some visiting, and then we'll sign books, and we will have books that you can buy too if you want. I was gonna have it done by then so my dress fits better to do the book signing, but I'm not a super person and I have a lot of work to do this weekend or this week.
And you're tired.
And everything I do, I have to like, I don't know. I'm like, before I was pregnant, I didn't even know. I grew up Amish and I was tired every day, and I didn't even know what being tired meant until I was pregnant. Like,
Girl, don't even tell me.
Yesterday,
Yesterday,
I can sleep for 12 solid hours, and I wake up and I'm awake for 1 hour, and I could take a nap.
exactly. Yesterday, I was literally
Unbelievable.
trying to explain this to Jonathan. I was like, I feel like I'm narcotics tired. Like pregnancy tired is not just, oh, I feel a little sleepy. Maybe I'll take a nap. It's like
drugged tired.
yes, it's like the feeling you get if you were about to take a major, or if you just took a major
Yes.
painkiller and you start to
Mhm.
get really lightheaded and loopy.
Yes.
And I feel that all day unless I sleep. And yesterday we were trying to schedule all these lives. And I'm like, I can't think. I'm out of it. I can't explain it.
Your brain just quits working. You're having a regular conversation about the most regular stuff. Like we were like when I was talking about the fly bait a while back. So my little sister took.
Vocabulary just goes away.
Yes, because I
Yeah.
had to compare it to bacon bits. It's little granules. It's like little granules of instant coffee is what it looks like, but I couldn't remember the word. Granules.
Yeah.
It's like these dumb little words just ugh.
Vocabulary
Yeah.
vanishes. It's
It
very
vanishes.
difficult. Have you ever considered, and I know this isn't tradition, but I don't know if would be sacrilegious, to put elastic panels on the side of your dress so it would kind of stretch to fit?
Ooh.
Or knit panels?
had
Doesn't have to be
not.
elastic.
You know
Just
what?
like knit fabric.
I sew it on. Like I sew the pieces on right here. I could. Oh my goodness! Thank you for saying that. Oh wow!
You're welcome. I did go to school for fashion design, so I know a little bit about sewing.
Oh, I did not know that about you.
Yeah.
I love fashion as much as it might not look like it. Yes, I'm gonna have to do that like all through down the side of my dress. Put like
Yeah.
strips of elastic so it can stretch.
Yeah, well, it doesn't even have to be elastic. You could just get like a high elastane fabric,
Yeah,
spandex
that's what
or
I meant, like,
knit.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I even have fabric here that would work.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. I had not thought of that. Wow.
Well, it's probably not allowed when you're Amish.
I know it is not allowed when you're Amish. So, but who cares? I'm not Amish. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah,
So,
so I have to have you address this because people always ask in the comments, and I'm sure you see it too. Why do you choose to wear your Amish attire still, even though you're former Amish?
uh-huh. So when I think this is very common for anybody that leaves the Amish. I don't think I've ever met a person that left the Amish that did not sort of feel like this, even if they might be denying it. When I left the Amish, like I said in the beginning, I did not want anybody to associate me with my past. I didn't want to be associated with ex-Amish. I hated my accent. I did not like the fact that people could tell I did not grow up like they did. I wanted to be as normal as your everyday average Joe. So wearing these clothes was a very triggering thing for me. 3 years, almost 3 years after I left the Amish, I had gone home to visit my family. I had gone with my sister-in-law, and my siblings took me upstairs to my old bedroom. We were just having fun. They took me up there, and they got out one of my old dresses and everything, and I put it on, and my sister helped me. Like, they pinned everything on me, and I had my old dress on. I was back in my old bedroom, and I panicked. Like, I thought I was going to suffocate. I was like, get this thing off me. I am going to suffocate. And they got it off, and that was when I started realizing that I am seriously scared of wearing my Amish clothes, especially because I started thinking about it, like, why am I so scared of having my Amish clothes on when I know I'm not Amish? They can't legally force me to become Amish. Like, why am I so scared of that? That happened in March, and in August is when I made that video that went viral. So that summer, I started, like, sometimes I would put my Amish dress on, just put it on. So I'm like, I don't really want to have anything that I'm scared of. I was at that time in my life, I was going through something where anything that made me uncomfortable, it's like anything that was not harming me or mentally like hurting me, if it made me uncomfortable, I was determined to work through it. These clothes were something I was like, I don't want to be scared of these clothes. I want to be very comfortable wearing these clothes. So I started putting them on. Just sometimes I put them on for maybe 10 minutes, and I do like just try and be comfortable in them, and I didn't feel comfortable, but it got better. And so in August, when I made that viral video, when I went viral, I had my Amish clothes on. The second video I posted, I had my Amish clothes on, and they were asking about my hair. So I didn't change out of my dress. I just put up my hair while I had my dress on and everything. And it went, that thing is like 50 million views. It went crazy viral.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, wow. And then people started asking questions, and I would just make a video reply to their comments, like just reply to their comments with a video. And I did it with my Amish clothes at first. And like people just kept asking more questions. And so I kept answering them in my Amish clothes, and people loved it. And so I was like, wow. And so I just started wearing it, and I got more and more comfortable. And I think about this almost every time I put this outfit on. I could comfortably go to my parents and sit there for hours with this dress on, and I don't think it would bother me any more than it does regular clothes. And that for me is an accomplishment, and I don't ever want to get to the point where I hate putting these clothes on again. So for me, wearing them is just a point of getting my mind to recognize the fact that my past is not a threat anymore. My past does not define me. These clothes don't tell the world who I am. They just show my past. They show a little piece of who I used to be, or why I maybe am the person I am today. Because I did not grow up in your average way. I am not your average little Susan down the street.
Little Susan. I love it. It's a reclamation of who you are. It's an empowerment thing.
Yes,
And
like, as much as I just want to be an everyday person, like a normal, average person that doesn't do anything different, I'm never going to be that person because that's not my life. That's not who I am called to be.
Yeah. You're choosing to make a statement and you're choosing to be who you are unapologetically. And I think that's the
Yep.
point. That's the beautiful thing is you're not forced to wear that. You choose to wear that. And it's your identity.
Yeah, I can do whatever I want when I'm wearing these clothes. I can scroll on my phone. If I would be Amish, wearing these clothes would mean I couldn't even look at a phone. You're basically, if you're Amish, you have these clothes on and they mean something. They mean a huge something. I remember when I first left the Amish, my first outfit that I ever got, I had like $20 when I left the Amish. So the person that helped me when I left, took me to a thrift store, and I got a pair of jeans and a t-shirt. And I didn't even get a bra. Did I get a bra? I don't even remember. I think I used my Amish bra the first couple, or my Amish like little boob vest.
A boob vest? So you don't really have bras either?
No, they don't. They have like a little sleeveless, it's homemade, like a little vest that comes right under their boobs, and they just pin it like this with these pins to kind of support their boobs so they don't flop all over the place. So I got a pair of jeans and a t-shirt, and the jeans were too small because you don't know the sizes when you're Amish. You just make the clothes custom to who you are. So you don't have sizes when you're Amish. So I just tried them on, and they were tight, but they were the only ones the thrift store had. I couldn't find any bigger ones. And so I wore those, and they sucked. I hated them. And they were I felt so, oh my gosh, I felt so nauseous that day because I had pants on. People could see the shape of my legs. I had my hair down. I had a shirt on. I felt so naked, and it just made me so nauseous that first day after I had left the Amish. I hated it so much. I got over it, obviously. I would say I felt the same way wearing those clothes, getting used to wearing those clothes made me feel the same way as it did getting used to wearing these again. So it was like I don't ever want to be made uncomfortable by everyday clothes that help me in life. So
And now you're about to brave maternity clothes, which let me tell you, the market out there is not great. It's awful.
my brother is here. He's right outside the door, and he's making the goofiest faces ever.
Let's wrap up. So this was so enlightening. Thank you for sharing, Lovina. I'm so thrilled for your pregnancy. And yes, I'm cheering for you. And if you're comfortable, I would love to hear your birth story once it happens because I love all the nitty gritty of that and the details. And it's just, I love women supporting women through these journeys because it is just grueling and beautiful and amazing and horrifying and all of the things and tiring and exhausting. But let's get your Linda Listen moment.
If you're newly pregnant and you're in the trenches of nausea, see if you can get a Sofran prescription and take some vitamin B6.
Okay. Solid advice.
Oh my gosh. If someone could have told me that, I don't know if it would have worked. But if someone could have told me that a month ago, it would have saved me so much pain. And get sleep.
Yes, take the naps.
The women who go to 9-to-5 jobs while they're pregnant have my forever most utmost respect because I do not know how they do it. They have my respect on the same level as Amish women. I am a very firm believer in that pregnant women should be able to work when they feel like it.
Yeah, which is never. No, I'm lucky to be able to do this job where it's just a couple hours out of the day where I sit down and have these conversations. I mean, this baby's been flipping the whole time, which hurts, but I can get through it and continue the work. I'm trying to bank as many episodes as possible so that once I give birth, I can actually give myself a 6-week break or something like that. But man, wishing you all of the best and enjoy that second trimester. It really is the golden trimester.
Yes. That's what everybody keeps telling me. The second trimester is the best. And I'm like, it truly is. I don't get my cycle. I'm not nauseous. I feel good. I feel really good. I mean, I get tired, but I feel really good. Like, I love being pregnant. So then they're always like, well, wait until the first or the third trimester. I'm like, well, if it's anything compared to the first, then I'm scared.
Yeah, well, I'm squirming over here because he's kicking. And in the second trimester, the kicks are like sweet and like, oh my goodness, I can feel the kicks. And then the third trimester, you're like, oh, it kind of flips your guts.
I have an anterior placenta, like the placenta's on the outside. So the kicks won't like come out front as much, but I'm afraid they'll be worse in the back then because of.
Right.
So I'm like, I'll probably feel it in the ribs then.
Okay, tell everybody how they can find you and support you across all of the channels.
I am on every social media platform pretty much that you've probably heard of ever. I have a website, socialsbylovina.com, where you can get all of my ebook cookbooks. You can give little gifts for the baby. You can get specific recipes. You can get my printed cookbook. Everything is on there. And I also at the top of that website are linked all of my socials. They're on pretty much all of my socials. I'm Lovina_Soak. On Facebook, I'm just Lovina Soak, and it's verified. There's a lot of copiers out there, but mine is verified with 1.5 million followers. Lovina_Soak, I think, is across all platforms except Facebook. It's just Lovina Soak.
Well, thanks for coming back, Lovina. Any final thoughts?
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me. I don't think so.
Okay.
Just very glad I got to do this again.
Yay! We're definitely calling you again. It's so fun to have these conversations and to talk through some of this stuff. So
I feel like we need to get together in person at some point because
oh my gosh, please.
It feels like old friend FaceTime time whenever we
Yes, we need to figure it out. That would be so cool. Yeah. Okay. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to leave those words of encouragement and well wishes for Lovina and her pregnancy. We're so excited for her. And keep sending those blessings and prayers because obviously it worked the first time. And if you want to watch her full story, I'll link that in the description. You can watch that. And I think we did a live too, didn't we?
Mm-hmm. We did,
yeah.
Yes.
So you can go watch 2 of those episodes if this is not enough, if you want more. And we'll get her back on here again soon too. And if you want to become a channel member, you can get early access to some of our videos, members only live streams and behind the scenes content, or you could support on Patreon if you prefer, patreon.com/cults2consciousness. We have a website at cults2consciousness.com. And if you want shorter clips of our guest videos, we have a shorts channel. You can find that on our homepage or the link in the description. And I will link 2 videos down here below, probably Lovina's or another former Amish or Mennonite. We have an incredible playlist of people who have come from those backgrounds. And until next time, follow your highest excitement, be conscious, and be well.